Hello everybody, and welcome back. How are we all today?
Fantastic.
Fantastic.
I mean, I just can't believe that this is the second week in a row where we've had a session.
Yep.
Oh my god, 2 in a row?
Two in a row.
I mean, we have started an hour late.
We have started now,
That's
late,
true.
yeah.
No.
This is fine.
They don't need to know that. Don't shatter the illusion.
We started an hour late.
Well, they'll know because there'll be one less hour of video. But...
Yep.
This is
You
true.
took a longer break.
So, can anyone tell me what happened last time and where we left ourselves off?
There was a lot of awkward silences.
There was a lot of
None of
awkward
us wanted to talk to each other, and Ferrous was just like, for fuck's sake, talk to each other.
Yep.
Yeah, we.
Talk about your
Chaotic
feelings.
Chaotic versus lawful.
Yeah, Arya
Yeah.
and Kelariis really wanted to break in to steal the thing back, and V and Vondal were just like, no, we're not breaking the law again. So eventually, thank Christ, Vondal and V managed to convince Arya and Kelariis of not breaking the law. Also, Grim left.
Yes.
Sad face.
We miss you every day. Anyway.
Yeah.
How could this happen?
So, what did we do? Yeah, so V basically went. Well, everyone, and Arya locked in a corner. Everyone went back to. Everyone went back to the church, and V was just like, "Hi, I did it. I'm sorry." And then I got branded as a thief. So now I have a sick tattoo.
That's not a
Yes.
sick tattoo.
Yes. You have a permanent a tattoo that would be permanent if you were human, but because you're not, probably won't be permanent.
Also,
It'll be there for a long time.
Yeah,
a
that
long
marking
time,
you as a
but, like,
thief.
eventually we'll have like super bitchin' powers, and I can just probably get rid of it because it doesn't matter.
Yeah, if you survive long enough to get to a high enough level, Vondal will be able to just cast regeneration, and it will just disappear. But
I mean, whether
Man.
Vondal wants to is.
it will live with you long enough to be impactful, or at least I hope it will.
Exactly. Anyway, and then the chaplain and stuff, they're sort of thinking it over of giving us the staff, which, you know, would be nice. I got a tattoo for this. And we
Make it sound like The
went-
Hangover.
I know.
Wow. And we went to talk to Catherine,
Yes.
who was actually surprisingly chill.
Yes.
She's very chill.
Yeah.
And she talked to V a little bit, because she also has that tattoo. and
She
now we're
also
just,
has that
like,
tattoo in
sisters.
fairly similar circumstances. Yes.
And now we get to talk to the very cult-like, not cult.
Well, you left off in Othel Manor. My PC is just now hiccuping and deciding not to load stuff. Yeah, so you left off in Othel Manor, heading into the art exhibition, which it is entirely up to you what you guys do in here, if anything, if you talk to anybody. But yes, this was where you left off.
Rob, I think my vision is all fucked up.
Your vision is fucked up.
Yeah. Because I can't see my Arya's token, I can just see Lear.
Are you scrolled down?
Yeah, have you tried scrolling
Because you're on a
down?
second floor.
Yeah, but if she can see
Oh.
Lyra's.
There
Oh.
we go!
Lyra's not with you.
Oh yeah, right.
Lyra's on the first floor.
Elsewhere.
Yeah.
Right, because they wouldn't let her in because she's a dog.
Yes,
wolf.
she's a wolf. But...
There's your bingo for the day.
Did you say my wolf?
My wolf.
I did.
Yeah.
You fuckers.
There it is.
There it
Yes.
is.
We're making progress on the
Mark
bingo.
one.
2 seconds in.
So, yeah, you can choose to look around the art exhibition, talk to anybody in the house if you wish. Otherwise, you can equally just leave and get on with things.
Yeah.
I could just stop
Yeah, I
the
don't really
title theme saying as
Yeah.
well.
Care.
It's
Yeah.
an art exhibition.
Well, you guys look around the art exhibition, and
Paintings, maybe.
I guess I will join the rest for now.
well, if you only take a cursory look around, nothing of importance happens, basically.
When you hear about
Uh,
it,
let-
stare at you.
Yes, you hear a buzzer and you stare at the art, and then some new music plays
Oh,
as your week begins. Well, the first week begins of downtime in Rourke's Gate.
Woo!
Woohoo! We're not doing
oh
shit.
shit.
Yes, because you have run out of leads, so you have decided to collect your resources and decide what to do next once you have some information.
Lyra's having to stay inside. We can't take her on walks anymore.
No, she just couldn't go into the art gallery.
No, I'm making puns. 'cause we don't have any
You've run out
leads.
of leads. She doesn't walk on a
God
lead
damn
anyway,
it.
it's fine.
Yeah, she doesn't have a lead. And
So,
I'm pretty sure she would be very resentful if she had a lead.
yes, almost
Also
certainly.
true.
Not like
So, I believe the first thing that is happening is that you are all... Well, some of you are writing letters.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Some of which we wind back a bit were sent technically last session, but have been written this session. And I believe others wish to send other messages. So, do people want to explain who and what they are contacting and what they have said, in essence?
Well, V is contacting Neve in Silverbrook to update on the current situation, saying we're still alive and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I'm asking her if she could look up our big bad, Nelorsazoran. If she can get any more info on him, perhaps from any sort of records or by asking maybe Silverbrook.
Mm-hmm.
Because we know that it happened about 700 years ago. So anything that we could know about him would probably help us somehow.
Vondal is contacting Lady Yenna Silverbrick herself. Again, giving a general update and requesting the mithril chain links we uncovered oh so long ago
Uh-huh.
to be sent to Rourke's Gate, and compensating her for the effort.
Yes. And Kelariis, I believe you've written some personal letters?
Yeah, I haven't actually finished writing two of them.
That's
But-
okay. But...
But they are going to be written.
Yeah.
And have been written in game. But
Yes.
one of them is being sent to Grim, essentially kind of updating him on what happened after and responding to some of the things in the letter that he wrote. Most of it is just kind of like, hey, you're gone, we miss you.
Mhm.
Here's what went down. Also, here's my response to some of the advice that you left for me in that letter. The second one that I'm writing is to my family, actually,
Mhm.
because of things that have been going on, and it's basically it's a little bit of an awkward letter to write because this is the first time that Kelariis had attempted to have contact with them since everything went down with her kind of deserting the military.
Yes. Ever since you went AWOL.
Yeah. So it's as much of an update of, hey, I'm not dead, as
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but kind of not. So yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
In context, it's been like almost a year and a half since you left. So.
Yeah, it's probably the last thing they heard was that I had deserted. So essentially,
Yes, they will have got a notification of a dishonorable discharge because you weren't AWOL.
And the last letter is to Thasira, technically also to her mother, but mostly to her, and it's kind of an update on just things in general, and hoping that everything's well, and saying that I've kind of, made new friends that I think that she'd really like to meet one day. Stuff like that.
Yeah. Due to the nature of like how far you have to send these letters, you probably won't receive a response for quite some time, even with 5 weeks of downtime. Well, a potential 5 weeks of downtime. But yes, those will be sent off once you have paid for them to be sent. Yeah, and for those of you who are sending closer messages, you will probably receive a response. Kelariis is sending some fairly long-reaching letters, so it'll probably take a little bit more time. However, with that, basically there will be a period of 1 week in which the Cathedral of Pelor and the relevant members of its ruling council and members of the Radiant Dawn will be discussing whether or not you should receive the missing component of the Baton of Retribution. So, whilst that week-long period of basically debating happens, what are you guys planning on doing?
Does this count already as like the start of downtime?
Yes, this is the first week of downtime.
Okay, so I'm probably gonna go shopping first.
Okay.
Or
Shopping.
because if I'm planning to make potions, then I should probably get some more stuff.
Yes, you will need things like vials, additional ingredients, and you'll probably need to do some actual research on what it is that you want to make with the herbs that you have, because you can potentially make a lot of different things, and in order to know what to buy to make them, you'll need to know what you want to make.
Okay, can I start with, I guess, do I know where I can brew potions? Is there like a potion brewery in town somewhere? I don't know.
I believe you have the tools necessary to do it on you.
Oh, I guess I do. Okay.
Because you don't need like any sort of like big equipment to make your stuff.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. I guess I'll go out, do some shopping, do some research.
Cool.
I guess research first.
Yes, give me. You are proficient in nature checks anyway, aren't you?
Yeah.
Give me nature checks with advantage then, seeing as you've already got some ingredients and you sort of know what you're aiming for. And we will come back to you.
Oh, how many nature checks?
An extended nature check. So give me 3.
Who the fuck is Helena?
Shit.
Oh my god!
That's 2 natural 20s down the drain. It's fine.
We've used up our quota for the entire episode.
It's true.
That's it. No one else is going to get any more natural 20s now.
Unfortunate.
Okay. Yeah. So
No,
who?
Kelariis wants
What else is everybody doing?
Well, Vondal is going to offer his services to the blacksmith.
Mm-hmm.
He figures if he's going to be trying to craft some mithril chainmail, it's been a long time since he's actually done a lot of blacksmithing. He should probably get some practice in.
Yeah, making the tiny silver filament that you were making before isn't exactly blacksmithing, so.
No. So he wants to do some actual blacksmithing, helping out with the odd jobs he might have.
Cool. With that, I need you to. I need you to make me a relevant tools check.
Extend again?
No, just the singular.
Oh, lovely.
Oh, okay.
One.
We'll come back to
Oh
that.
shit!
Oh, that's unfortunate.
You break your tools.
Thanks, V.
Sorry.
Who's next?
Well, I think Arya is gonna go do some hunting.
Cool.
And she's gonna attempt to sell the meat and stuff.
Yeah. You're gonna turn a profit by hunting, essentially.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's not like we don't have enough money yet.
Nope.
With
I mean, what else? She doesn't really have anyone to write to.
well, this doesn't really make you a huge amount of money. It just sort of sustains a lifestyle for a period.
Oh, there you go.
What
do you need?
I need. You aren't really doing a tools check. Let me check something in your ranger proficiency.
I feel like it would be survival, maybe.
Yes, but I need to know if there is anything particular in your ranger proficiency that would affect it. Yeah, okay, I will give you a +2 for your ability to when you forage, you find twice as much food as you normally would in your ranger proficiency. So make me a survival check with a +2.
Okay.
And last but not least,
I think for the first week, I'm going to seek out, well, I guess whoever I can get in contact, whether it's Cassie or Velt, and see if I can kind of help out.
Yeah, you want to reach out to the Guardians of Namud and basically explain to them what you've done and try to make up for sort of kind of dropping them in it a little bit when you sort of name dropped their leader in front of like basically his arch rival.
I didn't know, I'm sorry! It was my fault.
It's fine. We'll figure it out.
Yes. Yeah,
Also
you have some making up to do.
Yeah.
And I believe, let me check my notes, you can attempt to do so by making either a religion or persuasion check, your choice.
Religion or persuasion? Well, my persuasion is better.
Mm-hmm.
So, persuasion it is. Oh.
Okay.
Well.
Right, so with that, some things happen. I need to roll on the complications chart for Vondal.
Right.
Okay.
By the way, I just imagine V with like her hair tied up and like these little gloves working
Yep.
away. Cute.
Okay, so Vondal, being out of practice for quite a while with your work, you make a couple of mistakes. One amongst which results basically in an order having to be completely redone, which it costs you a small amount out of your wages, but most of all it costs you a severe impact to your pride. So yes, essentially what that means is you can afford to basically maintain a poor lifestyle for 1 week. So you can either live as a pauper for a week, or you can pay a little bit of gold to sustain the style of life that you were preparing beforehand. Which I believe the jump from that would basically be if it's for a 5-day work week, 7 days, 5 silver a day, which would be 3 gold, 5 silver to boost you back up to your modest lifestyle.
Yeah, I'll just boost back up. 3 gold, 5 silver.
Cool. Arya, with your
Yes.
13. Yeah, you don't have to work too hard to sort of maintain the sort of lifestyle that you're used to, because you're pretty used to sort of like sleeping rough, etc. So any sort of city style life is pretty comfortable for you. So you only work for a couple of days, you get a couple of kills that you sell for a decent price, and you can sustain a modest lifestyle for 1 week.
Ew.
V, you do some research, and whilst you are engaging in your research, you meet a gentleman who works in the apothecary, who teaches you a thing or two about potion brewing. And essentially, the information he imparts to you, as well as making a friend in town if you need anything. He teaches you that the Healwell and the Knapweed that you already own. Healwell is a primary component in making potions of healing, and essentially every Healwell that you have can basically, with a little bit more investment, be distilled down into 1 potion of healing each. Or for every Healwell that you combine, you can reduce the item cost of a higher quality of potion of healing. The Knapweed can be used, basically you can distill it down to make knockout drops, which are in and of themselves quite useful if you want to sell them, because they're used in medicine for like people who need sedating. Alternatively, you can use it as an ingestion poison that renders the poison status to a target that ingests it on a DC 15 save, and if the target fails by 5 or more, they are rendered unconscious for 1 hour. So yeah, you can basically knock people out by putting stuff in their food or in their drink.
Wow.
If you want. However, the most important thing that the apothecary teaches you is, with his help and with a certain amount of investment, you can create one of the 3 following specialist potions. You can make a potion of feign death, which is something that I told you about already. And essentially what that will allow you to do is it will allow you to flawlessly imitate the effects of death on one person for 1 hour. Essentially the spell Feign Death.
Yep.
You can make a potion of poison, which basically it is to basically the untrained eye is essentially a potion of healing, except it does the exact opposite of a potion of healing. It is essentially a devastatingly deadly decoy. And the third thing that you can attempt to make, which even the apothecary who you make friends with has never attempted in his life, is an elixir of health. And what an elixir of health will do is basically it will cost you almost all of your stored herbs, as well as some additional components, and it will require you to make an Arcana check as well. But basically you can make an elixir that will basically instantaneously remove any negative conditions that you may have. With, I think it's the exception is petrification, but it essentially removes poison, disease, a large number of negative conditions, and any stats that have been permanently reduced by an effect, such as like a spell or a curse, are restored to their normal values. So yeah, it is very, very powerful, but like the apothecary says, he has never attempted it, he knows of nobody who has ever attempted it, he's just got the recipe in a book. But he thinks with your ability that you might, well, with the two of your abilities combined, that you might be able to attempt it.
Alright.
So you can think about that and whether or not to attempt it. Doing those checks will not use up your activity for the week. Like literally, that's like 2 or 3 days of you going to the apothecary shop.
Okay.
So you can choose which of them you wish to attempt, if any.
How much time will these take? If I try to do the elixir of health, will it take all of my downtime?
The elixir of health will take the longest, and I believe, let me check my document. Scroll up. Half price and creation time for any consumable items. So it would basically take you 3 weeks and 100 gold extra.
Okay.
So it would take you a long time, but not all of your downtime. Yes, essentially what you are making is you are essentially making a rare magic item. But I've reduced its effect slightly because it's not quite as powerful as other rare magical items. So, yes. The other thing he mentions is in order to make the elixir of health, you need to where is it? You also need to find a particular exotic material. He doesn't actually know what the exotic material is or how you're going to get your hands on it, but if you say that you're interested, he will attempt to locate it for you.
Okay. I would like to try the elixir of health. Maybe
Cool.
maybe we can ask Arya to help look for the exotic ingredients.
Yes, possibly. That is a good idea. Kelariis. Your attempts seem to go decently well. As Catherine said when you met in the gallery, Velt is not best pleased to find out what you've done, and your first encounter with him basically ends when he storms out of the room and refuses to talk to you ever again. Cassian seems irritated, but as is her rational nature, she says, I can see why you did. If the end is the same, then so be it. And then the blind old man, whose name I don't think you've actually ever found out. His name is Dom. Dom Yoon. Yes. Yeah, Dom Yoon. He is very quiet for like the entire exchange between you and Velt. But he basically says to you afterwards, sort of, if that is what is necessary, then that is what is necessary. And he also says that I understand that Velt is angry, but I'm sure he will. His threat to never want to see you again is somewhat impulsive of him, and I'm sure he will want to speak to you again because this baton, reclaiming the baton, has basically been his entire life. and you continue to sort of work alongside the Guardians and look for an opportunity to speak with them again about potentially working with the Order of Pelor. Until, pause the music, one evening... Let me find a suitable track. Yeah, this'll do. Yes, until one evening when you find yourself sat in the side room where Dom set you the challenge with the illusions and told you to sentence one of them. Basically, a table and some chairs have been pulled up, and you find yourself alone with Velt. And as you turn the conversation towards the idea of working with the Pelorians again, Velt sort of gives you what can only be described as an ugly glare. And through clenched teeth, he basically says to you, "I will not hear another word spoken about this. We're not going to concede to these conformists, not while I'm in charge here." Before you can even open your mouth to respond, the sounds of a door slamming echoes out throughout the room, and the voice of the blind old man cuts across the conversation. "Enough, Velt," he says. "You forget yourself, for that is not your decision to make, but Tritherian's." With this response, Velt turns a thunderous look to the old man before rising to his feet and soundlessly walking away. As you turn back to the old man, he seems to basically have moved across the room towards you at a speed that you would think impossible for a man of his extended years. And he basically sits next to you and says, "I do apologize for him." And he's sort of wearing a heavy-set, weary look on his face. And he says, "He has been through much, and I'm afraid he blames the Church of Pelor for a lot of it."
I mean, from what I understand, they are at least partially at fault for whatever it is that he may have gone through.
Yes.
So I can't blame him for that.
Whilst their actions are partially to blame, I'm afraid most of Velt's anger is misplaced. Most of it is, sadly, more than coincidence.
What do you mean by that?
He turns towards you and sort of puts his hand on the table in front of you, as if he's sort of like, because he's blind, he's trying to sort of like gauge where you are, as if he's expecting you to sort of like put a hand on his hand. And yeah, he basically begins to tell a story. He says, when he was a young boy, Velt's father was arrested by the church for public disorder. He was imprisoned for no more than a day, but it was long enough, I'm afraid, for him to catch a terrible disease from another prisoner. He spent many weeks fighting the disease, but even with the help of a cleric, I'm afraid he was too weak. With no income to support the family, his mother took a job looking after horses in the city stable, but when a particularly spiteful noble fell from his spooked horse, she had the misfortune of being the nearest person to the incident. Before the city watch could even stop him, the noble had struck her with the flat of his sword, resulting in a broken leg and leaving her incapable of walking for months. Sad to say, the noble was a guest of the church and an ambassador from another kingdom, so there was very little the church could do to punish him without causing a diplomatic incident, so unfortunately they did nothing. That was when the young Velt sought me out. I helped him administer a just vengeance on the noble, but he has harbored a hatred of the church ever since. Partly I blame myself. I was the one who told him stories about the Baton in an effort to inspire him, without realizing the obsession that I was helping to foster. When I realized that he'd paid that girl Catherine to break into the High Chaplain's home, I realized that his obsession had gone too far. I tried to counsel him, but he would not listen. And I worry that Cassian admires him too much to see his flaws, and that they continue to behave as their own prejudices lead them. I was hoping when you arrived that he would finally see what Tritherian's doctrine was truly about. And I think with the actions that you have shown, I'm hoping that you still can.
I mean, not in character, but hey, no pressure or anything. Just want to be clear about saying that in character.
He hopes you'll be a better exemplar than he is, basically. Which you kind of already are.
Oh, jeez. I mean, to be honest, I think that part of helping both Felt and Cassian see would be to start by talking to the people there. I mean, I'll admit that I think I had almost fallen completely into the same situation that they're in until my friends convinced me to speak to the chaplain in the church. And I think that both sides could benefit from potentially talking as opposed to just trying to work completely against each other all the time.
He sort of he nods and smiles and says, "Ah, yes. And that is why you make a better servant to Tritherian than Velt ever will. It is a wisdom I have not heard in these halls for a long time."
Thank you, that means a lot. I only hope that I can do the right thing and maybe help others in that path as well. Even if some of them are a bit reluctant to listen.
He smiles and he says, "With the power that you wield, I think that will be possible." I predict a great many things of you, Kelariis Greysurge.
Well, I can only hope and I can only do my best to live up to that.
Okay. If you don't say anything else, he just sort of he sits there for maybe 20 minutes after you finish what it was that you were doing, and yeah.
Actually, I'm gonna do this now so I don't forget, and I think that he might be the best person to ask at this point.
Okay.
Dom, before you leave, I have something that I meant to bring up before with, well, Velt and Cassian as well, but considering the current state of things, I wish to talk to you about it first.
He
As I
he nods.
Oh, cool. Okay. As I mentioned when I first came here, I've been traveling to find the artifacts of Tritherion, and my quest so far hasn't been completely empty. I did in fact find one of them. I found his sword, but it is not the way that it once was. And I don't believe I'm yet powerful enough to restore it on my own. But I've learned the value recently in asking for help from others. And I was wondering if you would be able to help me, perhaps.
He as you say this, sort of, he cocks his head curiously and sort of says, "Please show me." Sort of holds out his hands so that you can put it in his hands, because he obviously can't see.
Yeah, I'll do that.
You sort of take the sword out of its sheath and put it in his hands, and he holds it and feels it, and sort of like he runs his hands sort of like over the surface of the sword, and then he says something that takes you a little bit by surprise, and he sort of half under his breath says, "My old friend, I have not seen you in some time." This is indeed Freedom's Tongue, or what was Freedom's Tongue. There is a fell power that permeates it. It has certainly been through some horror. I believe it can be redeemed, though. It's a very nice scrunchy thing you have there, Luka.
I think it's her mic.
Yeah.
What? Oh, sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, he basically says, yeah, he thinks he can fix it.
Is there anything I can do, or that needs to be done?
He sort of turns towards the sound of your voice again and sort of says, I can, with my magic, I can sense that there's more than just a curse on this sword. There is an evil will that is acting on it, anchored in place by two different entities, similar but with different goals. I believe if we are to regain control of the baton, I believe there may be a way to perhaps amplify your powers to perhaps bring these entities into some sort of alignment, even only temporarily, which would allow you to break the curse. I believe then, with the artifacts reunited, it would regain at least a fraction of its power.
Okay, I see. Thank you.
Yeah. He bows reverentially, not to you, but to the sword, and then hands it back to you.
Okay. Yep, okay. I'll take that one in stride.
Yeah, as you sheath the sword, he says, "Thank you for showing that to me. You've made an old man very happy."
Well, I'm glad that was the case. Even if it isn't what it once was.
Hang on. I'm gonna see if he catches himself before he says this. No, he doesn't. He turns away sort of almost wistfully and says, "Yes, it used to have a radiance to it. One that you could feel as much as see."
You had the sword before then.
As you say that, he catches himself and he's like, there I go again, walking my tongue. Not I, no. How could I put it? A companion of mine. But that was a long time ago.
Hmm.
Sort of strokes his light beard, sort of muses to himself for a while, almost forgetting that you're there.
Amazing. I mean, Kelariis isn't going to press because she knows what it's like to not necessarily want to readily offer information.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
At least not at the moment. She won't say anything or ask anything else.
That's okay. Cool. Yeah, with that sort of, yeah, you continue to sort of help them out, and the temple when you first went there, it seemed like it had been maintained, but it clearly hadn't been put to use for some time. And with a little care and attention and a little elbow grease, you get the place back to what you would almost consider a running state again. And that seems to have a fairly amicable effect on the Guardians of the Mood. Yes, and you think you've swayed them enough to perhaps agree to working with the Pelorians at some point in the future.
Sweet, I did it good. I think.
You did good. Yes. You didn't quite manage a best, but you did a good.
I tried.
Yeah. Cool. Back to V.
Hey.
So, you wish to begin attempting to create an elixir of health.
Yep. My friend, the apothecary, he's just like,
yeah.
This thing no one has ever tried it before. She's like, want to do it.
Cool. He does not have a name, so if you want to give him a name and a race and an appearance, then go for it.
Well.
Quick character creation on the fly.
Nice. No, I don't know.
Well, no, you make it up in your own time because it won't have an impact right now. It's merely if you want to call on him again in the future, which you could potentially do. Yes, so he does some research, and discovers that... to bring something up very quickly. Need my Dungeon Masters. Actually, no, I need my Monster Manual.
Which V was smarter so she could have higher Arcana checks?
Should have stayed in school, done your homework.
She didn't go to
What if
school.
Stay in school, kids!
Stay in school to get those sweet Arcana checks.
Well, thanks to making a brand new friend, you might actually be able to have somebody to assist you.
Yes! V's friend making skills.
These friend making skills to the rescue.
No, that didn't find what I wanted at all. I'm just going to look in the list. Come here. Yeah, okay, so whilst I'm looking this up, I will tell you what else. Yeah, he looks up the procedure for making this elixir of health, and it is quite a long and lengthy process. Yeah, and he basically identifies that you will need 100 gold's worth of materials, as well as the heal well and knapweed that you already possess.
Okay.
I
have the money.
Yes, and I'll just use Cobalt Fight Club. This will be easier. You are attempting to create that, which means I need... okay.
This potion will be so worth it, guys.
Okay,
Yeah, but
the
then we'll
rare
need-
material that he discovers that you need is a vial of troll's blood.
Oh, yay.
God, we should have grabbed some of that.
Yeah, we did in fact kill a troll.
You
Missed
have, in fact,
opportunity.
killed a troll in the past. So basically, he suggests that obviously the easiest way would... well, no, the easiest way is not to go out and find a troll. The cheapest way would be to go out and find a troll. The dangers of which are immediately obvious because you've faced a troll before, you know how that goes.
Arya, come help me!
His other
Let's
option
go fucking troll
is
hunting, boys.
that
No.
he may potentially be able to find a dealer in rare components, but that is where it's going to start costing you decent amounts of money in the first place.
Yeah, I think we can attempt to hunt one.
Well, you have a ranger who can certainly know where to find one.
Yeah, come help me, Arya. Also, do I have to, like, pay money? Because I'm not... because the other ones are just, like, supporting a lifestyle and etc.
Yes, if you're not working, you will need to basically... do you have your player's handbook handy?
Yes, I do, actually.
Yes. If you can look up if you can look up lifestyles, you can
It was on the floor, okay?
you can see a list of lifestyles, and you can pick which one you want to pay for.
Okay. I don't know where that is in the book.
That is a good question.
Oh, actually...
Actually, I could check in the SRD and see if it's in the SRD.
Found it.
Oh yeah, lifestyle expenses is actually in the SRD. That's handy.
So modest is 1 gold per day.
Effectively, yes. Oh, it doesn't actually tell me the list. So yes, whatever it says in the list. So yeah, 7 days of whatever lifestyle you want to live. The rest are living modest.
So I'll deduct 100 for the things, and then minus the 7. So I'm on 93.
Okay. So yeah, remember that you've paid your dues for the potion making. Yeah, and basically you spend your first week purchasing and preparing all of the ingredients ready to assemble when you have the troll's blood. So your next week will be spent cooperating with Arya to locate, track down, and defeat a troll. Plus anyone else
I'm sure
you
this will
bring
go
in.
perfectly well.
If anyone else wants to join us, then they can.
I just need to find out what the challenge rating for a troll for 2 level 6 party members is.
Probably gonna be deadly or some shit.
It is hard.
Well, that's not
We can do it.
terrible.
Yeah, two people would-
And you can reduce that by preparing for it and making sure you have the right
okay.
spells and abilities.
And something to do fire.
Right spells, because I totally can
Oh,
hit
yeah.
my spells.
We need to
something
get
fiery.
some torches and shit. Or
Yep.
something.
Well, you could procure a number of vials of alchemist's fire. You could set a
Oh,
trap.
that's a good idea.
Plan
Get
ahead.
some, like,
Shit.
get some oil. We can make fire arrows. I have
That's
oil
true.
actually.
You do have oil.
So we could totally make some fire arrows.
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool.
I like the idea of a trap as well. Like, what if we
So
made a trap and then lured it into it and
Are
then
we-
shot it with fire arrows?
Are we good at making like traps?
I
mean, I
feel
guess
like
you are
Arya
kind of. Yeah.
I mean, trapping would be a survival skill.
Oh, I'm good at survival.
You'd
I
have
have
to-
+7.
You'd have to prove your skill as a master baiter, though.
Masturbate.
I mean, trolls aren't that hard to bait.
What do trolls eat? Just like meat?
Anything,
assume-
meat, any kind of meat.
Okay.
Catch a deer,
Okay,
put it in the
so
middle of a
we
circle.
prepare a trap. We make some fire. We get ready to fire some fire arrows.
Right.
And okay.
As you lay plans with Arya one morning in the tavern, alongside your other party members, you are paid a visit by Catherine.
Oh, hey.
Catherine.
And yeah, basically, Catherine says, "I'm here to bring you to the cathedral.
Oh.
A decision has been reached."
Oh boy.
All right, let's go then.
Here we go. Drum rolls, ladies and
Here
gentlemen.
we go.
Oh, I didn't actually drag you guys across. There we go. And
Oh.
so yes, you enter once again the Cathedral of Palor, where basically arrayed at the altar is Chaplain Sunkeeper, the man in the strange robe that you met the other day, who was speaking to Chaplain Sunkeeper when you interrupted him. Alongside him is also the Paladin who interrupted you whilst you were having your conversation, alongside 2 other people who appear to be members of the Radiant Dawn, as they are basically wearing sort of cleric robes with Radiant Dawn insignia. Yes, Paladin Ramos is his name, the Paladin. And yes, basically Chaplain Sunkeeper invites you to all come up to the altar where he is standing and Catherine as well. And he basically says, from what I understand, my esteemed colleagues of the Radiant Dawn have breached a decision about whether or not to give you access to the baton. And then he sort of indicates to Paladin Ramos, who sort of comes up to you with basically a silvered metal case that he is holding that you expect has the rod in it. And he basically says, the Radiant Dawn have given permission for the baton to be reassembled and taken on your quest under a few conditions. The first condition is that one member of this church must be present during its reconstruction. I'm sure that the members of the Guardians will protest this, but this was a condition that the Dawn considered necessary to ensuring any continued cooperation between our two factions. This will be the sort of the groundbreaking moment for our cooperation. If that is not doable, then I'm afraid we cannot agree. Do you agree to that?
I mean, I personally agree. I believe that I'll be able to convince the others of. Yeah, I believe I'll be able to convince the Guardians.
He nods. The second condition is one amongst you must be the designated trustee of this artifact, and should Pale off a beard, that party member die, the baton is to be returned to this church as soon as possible. Its fate after that will be decided by a cooperative council. Let us hope that this never happens, but it is a condition that I must ask you to agree to. Which of you will take this on?
Points
I
at
mean-
Kelariis.
I will,
Very well.
and I agree to that. So
He then hands you basically like a piece of paper that you scan quickly, and it just basically says, I agree to be the custodian of this artifact, and in the event of my death it will be returned. And there's a space for you to sort of sign.
cool. I'll do that. I'll
Cool.
sign.
You sign it.
Paperwork.
Oh, paperwork. How official.
Well, it's more that so that if you die and then your companions run off with it, and then they can come along and say, look, you signed this thing and said you'll give it back to us.
Yeah, that's fair. Good luck finding out that I died, but yeah.
It's okay, guys. No one will know.
But yes.
God, that would be
Keep
kind
it
of dark.
hidden until we can resurrect her.
Also, good point.
I mean, technically, if you are resurrected, then I don't think they're gonna be like picky about that. But
Well, technically you died, so you still have to give it back. But I'm alive.
yeah, they're not gonna quibble that. And but it finally says, and thirdly, and this applies to all of you, and I hope that this never comes to pass. But the Dawn decided that this was something that needed to be stated. If, for some reason, your quest is to fail, the artifact must be destroyed. And cannot take any risk that it will fall into the wrong hands.
Well, assuming we're still around and able to do that,
Yes.
we'll find a way to take care of it.
Yeah. Basically, this is a sort of like a self-destruct button clause in that if all hope is lost, your primary duty is to destroy the artifact to ensure that no evil power gets its hand on it. And he says, well, if you are prepared to agree to all of these conditions, then I am permitted to hand this over. And he opens the silvered case and offers the rod of the baton to you.
I'll take it with... I'll nod respectfully. Not gonna bow, but...
Yeah, you take the rod. And he says, ideally, for the witness to be present during its reconstruction, I would prefer it to be myself, although I understand that would possibly cause more problems than it would solve. So if you believe that there is somebody else who would be a better candidate, then I am willing to hear suggestions.
Do we need to make this decision right now?
No, but it will need to be made before you begin
Yes.
the process.
Yes. Yeah. Understandable. I would just like to potentially discuss that with, well, my companions as well as potentially the Guardians, but...
He nods and says, yes, I understand that this may be a delicate negotiation. I myself will be here with my duties for perhaps another week, after which I will have to depart. If hopefully the negotiations will not take that long, but if they do, then I'm afraid it will not be able to be me.
Of course.
He steps back, puts the case down, and says, well, with that, may Pelor's light guide your journey.
And I Tritharian bless all of you.
There is an awkward moment, but everybody nods.
Corporation may take a while still.
And Vondal just goes, and Torm blesses you too!
Yeah.
No, Vondal's gonna keep silent on this matter, it's fine.
So,
Small.
yeah. Let's not make the my dad can beat up your dad argument any worse.
Yeah. Yeah, good plan.
Cool.
Yes, I guess we leave. For
Yeah.
the moment.
Yeah. So, presumably, you then go and discuss.
Yep.
Discuss.
Eh, it's not really his call.
My hip.
But it's who do you think is suitable?
Jayla has an idea out of character. But I don't know if that's the first thing that Kelariis would think.
Why do you think Kelariis might not think about it?
I think right now she's a bit concerned with not... She doesn't want to make anybody more upset, especially considering that she and Vald, I believe, are still not speaking at this point.
Okay.
That being said...
Give me a
think
wisdom check, and based on that result, you can decide.
Okay, fair enough. Alright, Kelariis, how's your wisdom today? Oh god.
Pretty good.
Oh, nice.
Pretty damn good.
Okay.
You have a light bulb moment.
What if we ask if Catherine would be willing to be the one there when the rod is reassembled?
Does she count as a member?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's part of the church.
She is technically inducted.
I'm
Though
a
I
little
would
wary
go
of
to
that,
the-
considering
I'm worried the potential between
Catherine might not be super the best person. Like, I like the idea of them, like, trying to reconcile their differences, but...
The thing is, she might be the least threatening, potentially. I mean, it's definitely not going to be Mr. Perceptive Paladin. Sorry, what is his actual name?
Paladin Ramos.
Paladin!
Excuse me, Paladin Ramos.
Mr. Perceptive Paladin.
Look, that's what I've been calling him in my notes, okay?
Oh,
No, that's what we're calling him forever.
But that's his nickname that we don't say to his face.
No.
But
No,
Anyway.
it's Perceptive Paladin.
I questioned to perhaps her willingness, though to be fair, I do not dispute she would make a good candidate.
She does owe you a favor.
I suppose she does.
She did steal your magic stick.
She
It
also
would-
stole my money that I eventually got back, but...
It's certainly something we'd have to ask her about, and of course, Belt still has to agree.
I mean, it might be less of a problem than suggesting, for example, the chaplain.
Yeah.
Though that's, yes, a possibility. He's fairly agreeable.
Suppose we have a lot of people to discuss this with.
Yes. Unless any of you have a better, or have another suggestion, I should say.
Nope.
From what Dom told you, Kelariis, the implication that you think, and from what actually Catherine said to you, you think that it's Dom has a Velt has a problem with the church, was what Dom implied, and what Catherine implied was that she has a problem with Velt. So that's the disparity that you need to sort.
Right. Well, Kelariis is now thinking that if she can get these two people who have a problem with, respectively, the other person's order and the other person themselves, that it's kind of like almost setting a precedent in that way.
Yes.
Just, yeah. But I
You're-
understand that that's...
You're sort of setting up the
gonna be interesting.
it's you're solving the Capulets and the Montagues.
Let's just hope it doesn't end the same way as the play.
No.
Yeah, we definitely don't want to all die.
Well, you wouldn't be the ones who died.
No, it would be.
Don't want Velt and Catherine to die. Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So wait, so we you should have made the potion of feigned death.
No.
Should have given it.
You're taking it too literally!
Let's
They would
not
have to be
go that
lovers
route.
then, which is just like super weird.
Oh god, yeah.
I could marry them in secret.
Yeah, I
This is a
suppose.
weird. This is a weird AU we're making right now.
This is
Anyway.
interesting.
Luke's gonna go write it now.
I don't even know where to begin. God.
Well, does Kelariis want us to be there too when the thing is made?
Oh yeah,
Do we fuck
absolutely.
off?
No, I want you all to be there. I mean,
Okay.
assuming Velt will agree.
Yeah, Velt doesn't really have a problem with your companions. He has kind of a problem with you, but
Yeah, well, we're gonna hopefully sort that out.
But,
That's the plan.
I was gonna say, do we speak to the Guardians or Catherine first? Since they're the two we have to speak to.
I can go speak to Catherine.
Would you like me to come with you, or would you rather go on your own?
I mean, you are the person asking the favor.
True. V, do you mind if I come with you? Actually, where do we find her? Was she in the church when we went in there?
Yes, she was the one who took you in there.
Yeah, she came to pick us up at the tower.
Wait, I'm sorry, I heard Cassian earlier.
No.
That
would be weird.
That would be
Well,
super weird. What's Cassie
I was
doing
like,
next to the
okay.
church?
Well, because she was part of the, like, isn't
Oh,
she
she was
technically,
a cleanup girl or something, wasn't she?
Look, okay, I don't know. Weird shit happens sometimes.
No,
Okay, that actually explains a
Catherine.
lot. I'm sorry I heard that wrong.
God,
Okay,
yes,
let's
can
this
you
makes
give
so
us more
much
different
sense.
names, please.
Let's go find Catherine.
Yeah,
Finding
I'm
Cass.
so
Cassian.
sorry. Not
We're finding Ross. I mean Voss.
Wow.
I'm sorry, I messed up.
It's okay. I was like,
Okay.
why don't you think that Catherine's a member? That's weird.
I mean, the awkward part about this DM confession time, they have similar names because there was meant to be a sequence where if you guys got the names confused, you'd accidentally talk to the wrong person.
Wow,
Wow.
Wow.
that's awkward.
Thanks, Ferrous.
Yes, they deliberately have similar names to
Dick.
potentially create a scenario where you accidentally revealed your plans to the wrong person. But
What a dick.
I can't believe.
Anyway, let's talk to Catherine.
Yes.
Catherine.
Catherine.
Kathy.
Kathy?
Oh god.
I feel like she would not take well to us calling her Kathy.
No, so let's call her Catherine and go speak to her.
Oh boy.
But troll hunting.
No, not yet.
Okay.
I mean, this is only going to take you a matter of hours. Troll hunting is going to take you a matter of days.
Ugh.
So, you go and find Catherine first.
Yeah.
Cool. You just walk back to the cathedral and Catherine's there. She's just sort of doing her thing, tidying up, putting things away. Sort of sees you, waves.
Well, I'm glad we're on waving terms with her. That's nice. I guess we'll approach.
Cool.
Really awkward.
She
Yeah.
she seems surprised to see you approaching her, sort of expecting you to go to Paladin Ramos, but
Ah,
No, fuck that guy.
too perceptive for his own good.
You might see some shit, man.
she
You
does.
might see shit that's not there.
Kelariis, V, how can I help you?
Well,
we kind of wanted to ask a favor of you. So, the chaplain gave us the rod, but we do still need to put it together. And one of the restrictions, I guess, is that we need a person of the Radiant Dawn.
Not the Radiant Dawn, the Church of Palor.
Okay.
As you're sort of saying this, she holds up a finger and says, "Is this going where I think it's going?"
probably yes.
Maybe.
She inhales through her teeth.
Yeah.
So, could you please come when we assemble the baton?
Give me a persuasion check. How much can you puppy eyes?
Wait.
Okay,
Can I
hold
say
on.
something before she tries to make?
Yeah,
it?
sure.
Okay.
Do the help action. Give me advantage.
I'm gonna try. Okay. Hold
Oh yeah,
on.
yeah, if you phrase this well enough, I will let you help.
Okay.
I just love the idea of her helping being her also doing puppy dog eyes. So then you
She
have massive fucking dragonborn.
she has like lizard pupils. I'm not sure that works.
No, probably just the opposite of puppy dog eyes.
It's a little forked tongue, like.
I was gonna say, lizards are really cute.
Sorry, that's racist.
I can't believe.
Oh
Ah,
god, did you just lisp it as well? God, you bastard.
God. I'm
Wow.
sorry.
You went racist.
anyway,
Can't believe. Okay. Captain, I understand that you and Velt do not have the greatest history, but I do believe that if you two are able to at least be willing to be in each other's presence for the moment, it would be a good way to... It would be a start to paving the way towards the Church of Pelor and the Guardians of the Moon being able to work together in the future.
Okay. Which of you has the highest persuasion?
I have 5.
Same.
Shit.
Okay, so it literally
go
doesn't
for it.
matter who rolls, and the other can help.
V did most of the talking, so I'll let her roll. I will help you.
I feel like you did more talking than I did, but okay.
Not really. You
This is the
explain.
one with the statement.
V's
backing
cuter.
you up.
Ah!
My-
Nothing beats these puppy dog eyes.
Boom!
Oh yeah.
They're so powerful.
The puppy
They're
is
so good.
Yeah. Kelariis comes out with this profound statement, and V just like stands there like Puss in Boots, and almost in a realm beyond hearing, you hear what sounds like the shattering of some fine crystal glass as Catherine's heart breaks, and she says,
Oh.
Oh, boy.
I guess that would be the best place to start. Very well, I agree.
Thank you. I guess we have to tell, like, the chaplain or Paladin Ramos about this.
Yeah.
Since we're here. Well,
Yeah.
I guess we should go talk to Velt first to make sure he agrees, but...
Catherine puts a hand on your shoulder and says, rather you than me.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's quite patronizing as well, because you're a good foot taller than her.
How far does she have? How like hard is this reach for her? I've gotta...
And like she's like basically like a foot taller, so she's reaching up to pat you on the shoulder.
I can't believe.
I was gonna say, does she have to go tippy toes or?
No, not quite. She's not that short.
I'm that short.
I believe Catherine is 5'4". I think. Let me-
He's like 4'11".
I don't actually know if I wrote her height
He is
down.
so small.
I'm small.
Smaller than
Oh,
Vondal.
poor child.
4'4".
Oh,
True.
boy.
I did not write her height down, but she's basically 5'4". So
Okay, fair enough.
So she's about the same height as Arya.
yes, she is quite tall. Well, for her species. Yeah. So, yeah, she basically says, "I'll make sure that it's okay with Paladin Ramos. I'm sure it will be, but yes, you had best speak to Velt."
Yeah. I guess we'll go do that now.
Okay.
Or we'll try to.
You attempt to locate Velt. He is where he always is these days, in the temple.
Fair enough.
He, V, do you stick around for this?
I guess.
Okay.
You're welcome to come with me.
Velt sort of looks up, sees you, Kelariis, and sort of frowns a little bit, sees V, and then sort of looks a tiny little bit embarrassed, and then sort of straightens himself up, recovers, and says, "Kelariis, how can I help?"
We were given back the, well, I was given the rod to hold and to work towards reassembling, but we were offered a few conditions in order for that, which I did accept.
He grimaces.
they're not as bad as you may think they would be. One of them is, however, that a member of the church must be present when the rod is, when the staff is being reconstructed.
Velt makes a similar noise to Catherine.
Yeah, I figured. I believe that not only is it a fair request, but it's a good start to perhaps making amends between the church and the Guardians.
Velt opens his mouth to respond, and then pauses and closes it, and nods. I see.
I know that you do not have the most favorable opinion of the church, but they're not all as bad as you may think. I've learned that myself from speaking with them, and I hope that maybe you'll be able to see that as well. And for that reason, we have requested that Catherine be the one to be present.
Both of you roll me insight checks. Oh, wow. You don't need to roll very high.
Well,
some of the colour drains out of Velt's face.
oh, fun.
His normal uncrackable demeanour seems to be rapidly waning under this assault of things that he doesn't like.
Yeah, well, suck it up, buddy. I don't say that in character.
No. I didn't think so. But yeah, some of the colour drains from his face, and he says, "It is perhaps not what I would have requested, but if that is what is necessary, then there is not much I can do." Very well. Must be so, then it must be so.
Yes.
How soon?
Thank you for.
How
Sorry, what?
how ready are how soon are you ready to start? You still have another day's work of glassworking to actually assemble the thing before you actually can perform the ritual, so.
Right. So, another day, and I believe that everything shall be ready.
He sort of he rolls his neck as if he is tense. Says, "I will prepare the ritual, and well, I guess I will pray."
And thank you then for everything so far.
He nods. Do you then presumably turn to leave?
Yes.
Just you turn, you take a couple of steps, and he says, "Kelariis, wait."
I'll turn back to him.
I spoke with Dom, and what I said and the way I behaved to you was unfair. You have always had the same intentions as myself, but it has been brought to my attention that I may have not have handled this situation in the best way possible, and for that I am sorry.
It's alright. I understand that it was quite the news to be given, and considering everything, it's not the worst response you could have had. But I appreciate the apology all the same.
He breathes in deeply as if what he just said was very difficult, and turns away and says, I will... Well, I have a lot of work to do.
We'll be seeing you soon then.
He mutters something under his breath with his back turned.
Amazing.
You guess along the lines of rather more sooner than I was prepared for, but... And with that, Kelariis will begin her day's worth of work on the glassblowing, and we will take a short break.